Alright, today we're going to be talking about photography and digital photography. Before you could just pick up your iPhone and take a picture, cameras had to have something called film. The film had to be loaded into the camera, and a picture is created by clicking a button that opened the shutter of the camera and exposed the film to light. That light would burn the image into the film. Then the film had to be developed, and pictures were created in something called a darkroom. So the film would have to be put under something called an enlarger, and they used that to transfer the image onto light-sensitive paper. Then they had to take that paper and put it through a lot of chemical baths to make the image appear. Now today, photography is a lot simpler because we've moved to a digital way of doing it, but there are some terms that we need to know that come from this old process of creating photographs. So the first term we need to know is exposure. Exposure refers to how long the picture was exposed to the light. The higher the exposure, the brighter the picture. The lower the exposure, the darker the picture. So you can see on the left I've got an example of an overexposed picture. That's when the photograph looks washed out, you can't see everything, it's too bright. And on the flip side of that, underexposed is when it's too dark, that not enough light has gotten in and your image is unclear. It's very dark, it's hard to see. The second term you're going to want to know is saturation. Saturation just means the intensity of a color. So I've got a photograph example here. -80 means the saturation has been taken way down, so you can tell it's starting to look more gray. The colors are kind of disappearing, versus the opposite end where it says +80, the colors are really, really bright and vibrant. So that is saturation. And the last term I'm going to want you to know is contrast. Contrast means there's a striking difference. So contrast is when you have very light lights and very dark darks. So a low contrast picture looks mostly gray. There's not a whole lot of different values happening, versus our high contrast picture where it's very bright and very dark all at the same time. So today we're going to be creating digital self-portraits. We're going to be using the app Snapseed. Now my little photograph example over here on the right, I've pushed the exposure, I've upped the contrast, and I've messed with the saturation of my photograph to kind of get that effect. So we're going to stop and look at how to actually use this app and the process that we're going to do. Your requirement for this project is you're going to be taking 3 self-portraits, and you need to have at least 4 edits. We'll talk about what an edit is and what that means. So we're going to start by taking our photos with the photo app or photo booth, and then we're going to open those photos in the app Snapseed. So let's get started. Okay. To take pictures of yourself, we're going to use the camera app on the iPad. So here it is. I'm going to click it. Alright, right now my camera is not facing me, so I'm going to click the flip button. And now it's on me. So the flip button is that little button right there. To take a picture with the iPad, first of all, you got to get a good camera angle. You do not want to hold your iPad down here and take a picture like this, because then we're all looking up your nose, and that's not pretty. So hold your iPad up here like this, and you have a much better camera angle. Now, if you don't want to hold it up and actually take the selfie, you can use this button right here. That's the self-timer button. So if I click that, I can time it 3 seconds or 10 seconds, and then I can set my iPad down and then take a picture that way also. I'm just going to click the white button right there. So I'm going to hold my iPad up, take my picture. Yay, click. And there's my picture. I'm good to go. I can exit the photo app now because it's saved, and I can now open Snapseed. Alright, once you've taken your picture in the Photos app, we're going to come and open the Snapseed app. while I'm using Snapseed, I'm going to use this little draggy thing to kind of show you where I'm pointing because you can't see my fingers. So that being said, Snapseed is this one right here with the leaf, so I'll click on it. So to open your image, mine's already open because I've been playing with it. You're going to come up here to the open button. You will click that and you will pick the one that you want to open. So there it is. The tools that you're going to be using are over here. That's your toolbar right there. The one we're going to focus on is the one with the pencil. So when I open this up, you can see all these different options pop up. These options are going to help you to edit your picture. So the first one that we're going to look at tune the image. So when I click that, it's going to let me, if I go down to the adjust button here, it's going to let me play with the exposure, the contrast, and the saturation like we talked about when we were discussing those photography terms. So brightness, same thing as exposure. If I click on it, see there's a little sliding bar up at the top. All I'm doing is sliding my finger across the screen to make it go in the direction I want to. So less exposure, more exposure. So I'm going to brighten it up a bit. So whenever I get something the way that I want it, I can click the check button or I can click the X button. Pretty self-explanatory. I want to keep it that way, so I click the check. Now if I go back to my pencil on the side, click the adjust button, I can do the same thing with those other things. So I can up the contrast or decrease the contrast. I'll up it a little bit just for fun. And same thing with the saturation. Fully saturated, desaturated. So I'll keep mine somewhere in there. I don't want to mess with that. So that's what you can do for Tune Image. Another cool choice is the Curves button. That one allows you to play with the colors. So you can see this little graph. It's kind of appeared right here. And the graph has all these different colors on it. I can either play with the overall color by grabbing that and dragging it. Okay, so this is kind of me playing with the contrast again. I can switch, if I click the channel button down here, I can switch what channel I'm on, red, green, blue, or luminance, which is kind of fun. We'll click on luminance. If I can get it to go. Woo. So that really is fun with my colors. I can take it down or I can bring it up. We'll bring it up a little bit just because it's fun. So play with the curves on your own. It's kind of a fun one. You can also do simple things like rotate, or if your photo is facing the wrong way, or you can crop, or if your photo is facing the wrong way, you can rotate it. We're going to mess with the brush tool next, so I'm going to click on that. I'm going to move my zoom thing out of the way. Okay, brush tool. The brush tool is cool because it allows me to play with those exposure, saturation, and contrast on a individual level. So let's say I'll play with the saturation. I can either take the saturation down to where it's negative, or I can take it up to where it's positive. Okay, so I'm pressing these keys down here. So if I want to take my saturation down, what I can kind of do, and that will make it black and white, I'm just selecting an area. You'll notice my background is starting to change, and I'm just rubbing the spot in the background that I want to desaturate. So I'm going to kind of go for a Miss Santellan's all in color and the rest of the background is black and white kind of effect. Okay, so all I'm doing is literally just kind of rubbing over the entire background like this. You can imagine this is my finger going back and forth with the brush tool to get the effect that I want. If I like it, click the check and keep it. So you can have all sorts of fun with the brush tool. Another fun one is to do dodge and burn. So that's a way to really brighten something up. So let's say I want to be even blonder. I'm going to go for platinum here. Ooh, I can change my hair color. So fun. Alright, so dodge and burn, pretty fun. I'm going to keep it. There's also a whole bunch of fun filters that you can play with. There's glamour, there's drama, vintage, grunge, retro, grainy. all this stuff. You can play with this stuff on your own. They're pretty self-explanatory. For example, I like the grunge one. It's kind of fun because I can go down here and click this texture box, and I can kind of change the different textures, and I can adjust. I can play with the style. I like it a little bit more like what I originally had. This little button here. I can change where the focus is. I'm going to leave it right in the middle. Sure, yeah. So have fun with it. You can play with it. What you need to do is have at least 4 edits on your picture. The way that you can check that is this button up here. This is also the undo button, so if you do something that you don't like, you can click undo right there. But if you want to check your edits, you can click view edits. Okay, so I've got way more than 4. Okay, once I have it finished, and it's the way that I want it, I've got all my edits, I'm good to go. What I'm going to do, so I'm going to click the back button here, and I'm going to save it. Save button's right here. This is my export button. So when I press it, I'm going to click the option to save a copy. This will save it to my photos as a copy, and it'll say successfully saved at the bottom, and then your artwork is good to go. You can go and open up a new photo or an old photo or whatever. So to share your photos with me, to turn them in, remember you're required to turn in 3 photographs with at least 4 edits on them. You will go to your photos. Alright, so you'll pick the photo that you want. You will click the export button again up here. When I click that, it will pop up, and in this airdrop box right here, you're going to see something pop up that says Steven's iPad. That's mine. That's my iPad. And you're going to go and drop it there and share it with me. Now it's not going to pop up on mine because I'm on my iPad. So you should see a little circle appear right there that says Steven's iPad. You're going to drag and drop your photo or just click it, and it will automatically share it with me. You're going to want to check with me to make sure that I got it, but that's how it works.